Beau is back for another classic movie review. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Australian skinhead drama Romper Stomper from 1992. This movie was written by Jeffrey Wright in his feature film debut. The film stars a huge cast of up-and-coming Australian actors, including Russell Crowe, Daniel Pollock and Jacqueline McKenzie. So Romper Stomper follows a group of neo-Nazis led by Hando, played by Russell Crowe. The group are notorious around the downtown suburban area of Melbourne for their various racist attacks on the local Vietnamese community. Actor Daniel Pollock plays Davey, Hando's best friend and second in charge. Davey looks up to Hando, and in return Hando acts as a sort of big brother type of figure. From the very get-go of the film, you can clearly see that the two have a very strong bond, a very close relationship, and throughout the film they're helping each other through various situations. As the group's anarchy continues in and around the Melbourne area, they meet Gabe, played by Jacqueline McKenzie. The Gabe character was an epileptic who had basically just run away from her abusive, affluent father Martin after he had her junkie boyfriend arrested. Gabe and Hando hit it off immediately and become romantically involved very quickly. As Gabe had nowhere else to go, she was running away from her issues. She ended up finding herself living with Hando and the rest of the neo-Nazis. Now Davey, very clearly he shows subtle signs of affection towards Gabe very early on, even though she's very much into Hando. Davey is this tough skinhead thug when he wants to be, but we also see a softer side, a quieter side to Davey. Davey awkwardly hides his feelings for Gabe throughout the film. As the group lose their hideout to a mob of angry Vietnamese locals taking revenge on the group, Gabe and Hando's relationship becomes increasingly more dysfunctional. In addition, Gabe slowly becomes aware of Davey's affections towards her. The group struggle without money and tensions rise further after the group botch a robbery attempt. As police begin their search for the skinheads responsible, Gabe ends up leaving the group after an argument with Hando. Davey then quickly follows her in suit, leaving just Hando and the rest of the guys to take care of themselves. Thinking about it, there was only so much Gabe was going to put up with before she made a stand against Hando and his controlling behaviour. The character was strong-minded and was never really indoctrinated into Hando's Nazi cult lifestyle. As I said, she was running away from her problems, and when she met Hando and the group, she was at a very low point. Russell Crowe's character, Hando, on the other hand, he's a predator, preying on the weak, and we see that in his views towards other races and towards his treatment of women. And this brings me to the movie's underlying story here. It's a love triangle between Hando, Davey and Gabe. That's what this movie really is. It's a tragic love story gone bad between two best friends who betray each other over this woman who randomly comes into their lives. Yes, absolutely, it's a skinhead movie, and we do see the wars between the group and the local Vietnamese community. But ultimately, this is just the backdrop for the core of the story. By the end of Romper Stomper, we are solely focused on the love triangle, and the gang warfare, racism aspect kind of takes a back seat. After Gabe and Davey leave the group behind, they end up sleeping together, leading them to become an item. As I said, Davey was infatuated with Gabe all along. Ever since he saw her walking into the bar, he was like, wow, he liked her, but obviously Hando, being the more dominant guy, made sure that he was the one that was gonna get with Gabe and not Davey. While that's going on, Hando and the rest of the group are tracked down by the police, and Hando barely makes it out alive. Thinking more about the Davey character, he clearly has never had a relationship with a woman before. We see this rough exterior from Davey, this bullish looking skinhead. You won't want to mess with the guy. But as Gabe got more involved with the group, Davy clearly grew an affection towards her, ultimately leading towards the breakdown between Davy and Hando. The ending of the film was tragic yet poetic for the Hando character. As I mentioned, Hando's able to escape the police and ends up tracking down Davy and Gabe. Hando obviously finds out about this relationship between Davy and Gabe, and Hando seeks revenge on Gabe. Hando ends up trying to strangle Gabe to death. Davy, of course, comes to Gabe's rescue and ends up stabbing Hando in the neck, ultimately killing him. You know, Davy and Hando were best friends, and at the beginning of the film, they were like brothers. They acted like brothers. They treated each other like brothers. So at the end of the film, seeing Davy end up killing Hando, yeah, it was a tragic way to go. The two were very close, but the involvement of Gabe in the group ultimately completely changed the two's friendship forever. The very last shot of the film, we see the ocean from Hando's perspective as he slowly dies on the beach. The camera is tilted sideways as the Romper Stomper theme plays and the credits roll. I love this ending. The ending, it's one of my favourite endings to any film. Just hearing the waves of the ocean and then the music of the Romper Stomper theme kicking in. It just works so well, and they said the camera's tilted. It was just this, I don't know, I just loved it. I can't really articulate it. I just thought it was a great ending to a really great movie. Now, I saw Romper Stomper many years ago, and it's always stayed with me. I always thought it was a really interesting movie depicting the Australian skinhead culture. I had seen a few skinhead films prior to that, but they were skinhead movies made by American or English productions. So seeing an Australian independent movie was really refreshing, and I think that's the reason why I remembered it so vividly over the years. This is a powerful, independently made cult classic film, and I highly recommend it to all my viewers on this channel. It's a movie that got worldwide distribution off the back of its initial success in Australia. No doubt Romper Stomper was a pioneering film for Australian cinema, launching the career of Russell Crowe. Now I want to give a shout out to actor John Brumpton, who played the character Magoo. The character was a fellow skinhead and a friend of Hando that shows up at the gang's hideout wanting to sell some Nazi memorabilia. A lot of the characters have clearly a dark side to them. The Magoo character seemed genuinely upbeat and just wanted to have a good time. I guess the character brought a little bit of levity to the film, and so the character ends up being very memorable for me. Unfortunately, the Magoo character isn't in the film for that much, but still a memorable performance from John Brumpton. So let's talk about Russell Crowe for a moment. Absolutely fantastic portrayal as a disturbed skinhead seeking to hurt the other races in his town. During the movie, the gang end up fighting a bunch of Vietnamese locals. It's a big melee with punches being thrown and blood being spilt. The neo-Nazi group only really consists of maybe 8 or 9 people, and the influx of the local Vietnamese trying to take revenge on the gang is just too much for Hando to take on. So eventually Hando makes the decision to run back to the hideout a few blocks away. The surviving members of the neo-Nazi group end up running back, making it to their hideout, only to discover they're still being chased by the local Vietnamese. Now there's a great line from the Hando character where he basically tells the group, "We stop running here!" Like that, just like, I'm done with running, this is where we stop, this is where we fight. Unfortunately, that declaration falls on deaf ears with the other remaining group wanting to continue to run. Still, it's a great little scene, and you completely understand just how psychotic the Hando character is. Getting outnumbered and still wanting to fight to the death. I don't know necessarily how Russell Crowe feels about this movie now, but for me personally, this is one of his greatest performances. Of course, Gladiator and certain other films, but this one really is a standout performance for him. I saw this movie many years ago, as I mentioned, and it wasn't until years later did I find out that the actor who played Davy, the actor Daniel Pollock, actually committed suicide shortly after Romper Stomper was actually made. Killing himself at age just 23, it's a real tragic end to an up-and-coming Australian actor. Daniel Pollock, who played Davy, brought a certain vulnerability to that character. Unlike Hando, who didn't have much remorse for anyone, Davy wasn't this crazed skinhead wanting to hurt everyone. Davy was a complex guy with emotions and feelings, living the skinhead lifestyle where being emotional and showing kindness towards others was never allowed. It's like you either live in the world of hatred with Hando and the others, or be kind and tolerant and get cast out. Daniel Pollock really delivered a great performance, and as I said, it's a quiet performance. It doesn't really stand out. When you watch Romper Stomper, you think, wow, Russell Crowe, wow, amazing. But I think after rewatching it many times, you really got to give credit to Daniel Pollock that, for a young actor at just, in his early 20s, not much experience, able to deliver a really important portrayal of a troubled skinhead. Full credit to the guy, and it's just a shame that he took his own life so many years ago. I really feel that Daniel Pollock really could have gone on to bigger and better things, and it's a shame that he's got such a limited filmography. I also want to mention the score that was provided by composer John Clifford White. It's really fantastic. I love the Romper Stomper score. The theme itself, the Romper Stomper theme, as I did a minute ago, it's just this, it starts off with a siren, and then you've got this kind of beat that kind of kicks in. It just works so well with the visuals of Australia and Melbourne, shot in the early 90s, and it's just fantastic, and it really stood out to me. And it's a soundtrack that I could just listen to, without watching the film. I could just listen to the soundtrack. It's that good. So, dislikes. I'm gonna be honest, there really isn't that many, there's no real dislikes that stand out, like, oh man, this actor was terrible, or this took me out of the film, or, there really wasn't anything like that. There was nothing that really stood out to hurt the film. Ratings for Romper Stomper. I've always held it in high regard, and upon rewatching it recently again, I still find it a fascinating piece of cinema. I'm going to rate this film a strong 8.5 out of 10. It's a film that I do recommend. All my viewers watching this, please do check it out if you have got the chance. If you have seen it, I'd like to obviously hear your thoughts. But yeah, it's a great, as I said, I don't even want to really say it's a skinhead movie, because the core of this movie is a love story. As I said, the skinhead thing is just in the background. Nevertheless, Romper Stomper does get, in terms of its genre, it does get lumped in with other skinhead films. So if I was to compare Romper Stomper to other skinhead films, I would say this is one of the best, or the very best, skinhead films that has ever been. That said, it's more than that. It's more than the skinhead. It's more than a Nazi thing. That just pushed all that to one side. It's a core love story, themes of betrayal between friends that, start off as brothers and end up wanting to kill each other. It's a sad, tragic story, and I think the moral of the story is, who can you really rely on? Who can you trust? And that kind of honesty or dishonesty. A great movie. Russell Crowe's a standout, but once again, Daniel Pollock really does shine as well. Great movie. Definitely highly recommend.